Well, good morning, one and all. And the sun is shining upon the righteous and upon me. Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? Hope you had a great Easter break. For those of you that did, I know Gary was working part of it, but good morning, Gary. Hope you got to enjoy a bit of time with the family. I don't know how long it's been. My guess would be about 60 years. I did the whole of Easter without chocolate. Not a single scrap of chocolate passed my lips. Can't say I'm happy about it. But yes, that's where we are. Gary Muirhead says, Earth Moves magazine on site today, taking photographs of Stephen's equipment rental plant for an upcoming feature. Look forward to seeing that. Dan saying he had a lovely weekend. I know Andy Dalville was here somewhere. Let me find him. Oh, blimey, it's going on back a long way. At least it's sunny. I had a lovely ride out on my motorbike to Emma's Cafe in Woburn, which is attached to a Triumph garage. Might have done a bit of next bike shopping. Oh dear, that could prove to be an expensive Easter. What else have we got here? Mercy JD Johnson. Good morning, Mercy. Mark Whiting is here as well. Dan had a lovely weekend. Yeah, I did. We had a nice chilled Friday. Saturday did a bit of work around the house, did a bit of shopping. Sunday, family time. All but one of my children came home. Had the mother-in-law here as well. Big old lump of lamb consumed, not by me. I'm not on the meat again. But yeah, it was a great weekend. Really was a good weekend. And Ken Hatcher has just joined. Ken dropped me a line over the weekend, which I've only just seen. I've been trying to avoid my phone because I've been up to my eyes. He on several occasions he's compared me to. He says I look like the guy that runs Big Jet TV over on YouTube, which I can see a more than a passing resemblance. Baseball cap, sunglasses and stuff. But he sent me a picture over the weekend. Apparently the guy on Big Jet TV has had some heart issues and has now lost an eye. I don't know how, I don't know why, I don't know the story behind it. I just hope we don't follow suit. Gary, how's the diet going? I'm down about 6 pounds, I think, which is not a lot. But to be perfectly honest with you, I'm not particularly happy with my physique, but I'm not carrying a huge amount of additional weight. I mean, I'm a bit jowly because I'm knocking on a bit and got a bit of a belly back from the days when I used to have a drink and stuff. But yeah, I'm down about 6 pounds, but probably about another 8 pounds, and I'll be pretty much my fighting weight, considering my advancing years. So yeah, it's coming together. Ken only took the Sunday off. Yeah, well, funnily enough, I did a bit of work, which I did want to share with you. I've been thinking about what it is that I do here. And, we're basically 6 years in, 5 years for the show, but 6 years into the whole thing in terms of live streaming and stuff. But I kind of feel like I'm not doing quite enough. So I tend to write this show, or write the main part of it, like the morning monologue. I tend to write that a day in advance. So round about 2:00 in the afternoon, I sit down, clear my brain, which doesn't take long because there's not a lot in there, and then I sit down and I write the morning monologue for the following day. But then after that, I wouldn't say I'm done because I'm doing other work as well, but I'm kind of done with this part of it. Anyway, Guy joined Substack 2 weeks ago. A guy called Scott McFarlane. He used to be a correspondent for CNN in the States, political correspondent. And just the way that he is presenting his stuff. So he does a show a bit like this, not live. He records it and then puts it up, but he does a show a bit like this. But he also does like a news snippets. And I think that's something that's missing. I know the likes of Construction Index and Construction Inquirer and Building Magazine send out a daily email to say we've got this news and we've got that news, but they're not doing what I do. They're not doing this, and I reckon there's a gap. Now, we targeted this show at kind of break time for those that are working on site. So 10:00 in the morning, you will stop for a cup of tea or a chomp on your sandwich or whatever it might be, and you get to do a bit of this. But there's the other end of the day, which I reckon is probably about 6:00 in the evening. So my plan basically is to produce a new show. It's going to be a series of news clips. So here's a thing, here's another thing, here's another thing. It'll be entirely driven by the news flow. So if there's a lot of news on one day, that show might be 10 minutes long. If there's not a lot of news on another day, it might only be 4 minutes long. If there's no news at all, I won't do a show. Simple as that. Anyway, thought long and hard about it, about the some clever names. Obviously, this is the Break Fast show. It's at roughly breakfast time, but we're talking about demolition, so Break Fast. That was where that came from. Spent a lot of time thinking about the name for the new show, and then decided, why am I messing about? Because it's going to go out on existing channels. Everyone knows who I am, what I do, what it's all about. So I'm just going to call it The Report. The Report. That's it. That's what it's going to look like. We will be doing our first episode today. I've already got the show scripted. I'll be recording that a bit later today. So around about 6 o'clock this evening, you will see the first episode ever of The Report. The other part of this, which is, again, inspired by this guy over on the Substack, guy called Scott McFarlane, is the show this evening, I think, has got 4 or 5 news stories. So we'll record it as one. So if you're watching on something like LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook, you'll be able to watch it in its entirety for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes. But we're also going to chop it up into its constituent parts for things like Instagram and TikTok, and we'll be blasting out literally sort of 55, 56, 57-second bites as well. So we will have a constant presence on those platforms as well. That's what it's going to be called. That's what we're going to be doing. It's not live. It's going to be completely scripted. It's going to go out recorded, so we can actually add in some nice transitions and stuff like that. But it's going to be kind of your evening opportunity, maybe on the drive home or the train home or the bus home, or when you've put your feet up after a day's work, you can literally just press play and you'll get 4 or 5, half a dozen different news stories that will bring you up to speed on exactly what is happening in the industry. Now, obviously, we will be looking to get some sponsors on board, but I literally came up with this idea Good Friday, spent a bit of time kind of figuring out how I wanted it to look and how I wanted it to sound. I've got that figured out. Nobody apart from the people that are watching this show are even aware I'm doing it. So it's going to take a while, but hopefully we will be able to get a sponsor on board just to cover the cost of the editing and stuff like that. That's what we're doing. So that's what's coming this afternoon or later this evening. So keep an eye out for that. But in the meantime, without further ado, let me roll the intro. Got some good stuff for you today. I'm going to roll the intro and get this show on the road. Just very quickly, Dan has just said, that sounds very good. Well, we shall see. We shall see. The one issue I do have, which I'm not entirely happy about, is the setup I've got here. I don't really want to strip it down and take it somewhere else. So it's still going to look a lot like this. I'm not going to have me live on air because it won't be. I'm not going to have my YouTube lit up. I'm going to try and sort of change the layout and the feel and everything else, but it will look like this. Maybe in the fullness of time, I will be able to. I've always quite fancied having like a mobile setup, so maybe I can take it into another room or another location and start to do it from there. But early doors, it will look a bit like this, but the content will be very different. That's what you've got to look forward to. Sorry, what's the platforms we can hear it on? You will be able to hear it on all of them. So the basic idea is we will put it up on Substack, so Demolition Insider on Substack, which I know some of you already follow. It will also go onto YouTube. It will go onto the Demolition News, Facebook as well, and to LinkedIn. So all of those will be in the format that you're looking at now. So, the horizontal style, but then we'll chop it up and it will go onto Instagram and YouTube stories as well. So I'll tell you what, rather than telling you what platforms it will be on, it'll be easier to tell you what platforms it won't be on. And the only one it won't be on is Twitch, because Twitch is a live stream show or a live stream platform, and we're not doing it live. We're going to record it. So pretty much wherever you see my name pop up throughout a general working day or a working week, you will stumble across it. And that, to be honest, that's part of the deal. As I say, I wouldn't say I've been lazy. Been a bit lazy. I wouldn't necessarily that's not the driver. But having watched what this guy, Scott McFarlane, is doing, now, as I say, he is ex-TV. He does have a production team behind him, which, to a degree I have as well. But he is able to just produce snippet after snippet. Here's a news story. Here's another news story. Here's another news story, and so on down the line. Gary says, is it on TikTok? If it's going to go on TikTok, I'm going to have to join TikTok myself, which I may well do. I've resisted because I don't want to be stuck in that rabbit hole. I've never actually had TikTok on my phone. Not entirely sure I want to start doing that. But if that's where the audience is, then damn it, that's where we will go. I will consult with Fred on that because he is the TikTok expert. I'll be starting from scratch. He's got hundreds of thousands of followers over there, so maybe I can borrow a bit of his juice over there. Anyway, enough of all of that. Let's get into the real crux of the show. Let's not talk about what I'm doing. Let's talk about what the industry is doing. Let's roll the intro. It is Tuesday, the 7th of April. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony, the Walrus of Demolition, the Lord High Chancellor of live streaming, and the authentic global voice. No, the authentic voice of the global demolition industry. You can tell I've had a couple of days off. In today's show, the PC 9000, Komatsu's mining monster, taking pride in John Deere excavators. K-Tec lifts the lid on its latest scraper, and in the latest installment of our Voyage to Verona series, Kobelco reveals its SaMoTeR plans. Plus, in today's edition of Mark's Morning Monologue. And I felt slightly uncomfortable writing this one, even though I know it to be true. Today's Morning Monologue is called The Inevitability of Theft. I'm talking about theft across the board within the UK demolition and construction industry, from the minor points of people stealing your sandwiches from the site canteen, through to scrap metal theft, through to tool theft, through to fuel theft, through to equipment theft. The inevitability of theft, because it happens that often. I think we've all become a little bit numbed to it. That's what I'm going to be talking about in the Morning Monologue today. What do we got here? Gary said, got told this morning I'm getting a new Volvo EC500 instead of the 400. I mean, the 400 is a damn fine machine, but based purely on size alone, the 500 is better. Fantastic. Gary, you listen, I know you recorded a thing for us many moons ago. Have I still got that? I wonder. I have. Look.
Hi, I'm Gary Muirhead, and you're watching The Breakfast Show.
You see, now when you get your new 500, maybe you should break out the phone again and do a bit of a walk around for us. Yeah, reporting from the field. I'd love to see a bit of that. Anywho, people, we've got some big Komatsu, but first we're going to have a bit of Caterpillar advertising because, we need to pay the bills. Here we go. Now, Gary's just been talking about his EC500, which is a damn impressive machine. It's not quite on the same scale as this.
Imagine a machine built to last, designed for the toughest mining conditions, engineered for high productivity and long-term reliability. Introducing the Komatsu PC 9000, a new era of performance. With the largest bucket, longest reach, and the highest digging power in the PC series, the PC9000 moves more earth than ever. Despite its size, the PC9000 is highly agile. Redesigned hydraulics and advanced cooling deliver cycle times of under 30 seconds per pass. With its long reach and yet its short tail, the machine is designed for double-side loading, even in a fully autonomous front-runner application. The PC9000 is available in a 49 cubic meter backhoe or a 46 cubic meter front shovel application. Choose diesel or electric drive, whatever fits your operation best. Built to match Komatsu's largest mining trucks, it delivers around 8,000 tons per hour. The PC9000 reduces TCO through easier and faster maintenance and longer service intervals, ultimately leading to lower costs per ton. The spacious machine house provides improved access to the main pumps, making maintenance faster and more efficient. A closed hydraulic oil tank design with lightweight filters and up to 2,000 hours lifetime extends the service life and provides you with more uptime for your operation. A 60,000-hour slew ring lifespan pushes your mid-life overhaul further out and brings down costs. The undercarriage design with its simplified gearbox layout, wear-optimized sprocket, stress-optimized track pads, and fewer rollers extends component life and reduces operating expenses. The extended fuel tank supports up to 25 hours of operation, enabling 2 full shifts without refueling. High-torque swing motors reduce cycle time while using less energy. The redesigned hydraulic system features a pressurized oil tank and enhanced cooling for consistently reliable performance across every shift. A 45-degree stairway provides safer, easier access and egress. Dedicated emergency escape systems enable fast and reliable evacuation when it matters most. Service and maintenance points are easy to access and follow the immersed design philosophy, delivering safer, quicker, and more ergonomic service routines for maximum focus. A larger cab with improved visibility and low noise levels of only 71 decibels help the operator to stay focused. Ergonomic seating, adjustable joysticks, and armrests ensure all-day comfort. Dual-zone climate control and improved air quality control support a healthier working environment. A side-by-side trainer seat allows for hands-on training and support. The latest Comtrax Plus delivers real-time data for smarter decisions, while ComVision ensures full visibility at a glance. State-of-the-art CAN bus and controller technology set the machine up for future assistance functions, enabling continuous improvements throughout its operational life. Komatsu supports you 24/7 through its global distributor network. With worldwide available spare parts, tailored training programs, and long-term service agreements, Komatsu is always by your side. Because when your machine runs reliably, you can move your operation forward. The PC9000 isn't built to match the past. It's built for the future of mining. Komatsu. Creating value together.
It really is quite a beast. 8,000 tons an hour. Not bad at all. Chris Ford has arrived. Morning all. Monday morning fuck-ups on a Tuesday. What will they think of next? Well, I think that's how bank holidays are supposed to work, isn't it? You just push everything back a day. So, yeah. Gary says, listen, I remember this very well. I remember you and Fred went to photograph a PC7000 and you sent out prints of it. I've still got mine. I think I've still got a few of those kicking around here as well. Funnily enough, I was watching a video over the weekend of a pocket printer that basically links to your phone, and it prints out literally like Polaroids, but they're stickers as well. And I was actually toying with the idea of investing in one of those printers. And, you know, when we go to, you know, when we get a decent photograph or whatever it might be, make them available. Excuse me, make them available. Send them out to some of you guys. I'll keep looking. I've seen one printer that I quite like the look of, but I've not done any research about whether it's a good one or a bad or anywhere in between. So watch this space. We may well resurrect that. Dan saying that's some machine. Andy Thornton's just joined us as well. Dan picked up on that £8,000 an hour. Andy Darvell, that's not that big. I had a bigger Tonka toy when I was 6. I would imagine your Tonka toy probably looked bigger when you were 6. Andy says you don't see many of those working on the M25. Oh, excuse me. Thank the Lord for that. I mean, the M25 is slow already. Can you imagine having to bypass one of those as well? Who we got here? Jamie Tavui's here as well. Morning, all. Trying to stay connected. Signals a bitch as usual. Hope you're all well. Jamie, you and I are due a chat, aren't we? Yes. I'll speak to you after the show, but yeah. And Dan is saying, nice cab. He also says, 60,000 now slew ring. Wow. How do they manage that? It's a big old lump of steel. I think is probably one of the ways they manage that. But I would imagine the maintenance contracts they have in place for a mining machine, bearing in mind that will be the prime mover on the site, you'd have to think they are taking exceptionally good care of it. Speaking of taking good care and pride and stuff, let's have a bit of this, and then we'll come back with a bit of pride in John Deere.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
I do find this slightly frustrating. That one of the companies that produces some of the best, most frequent, some of the most interesting videos is John Deere, and we can't actually get their equipment over here. That being said, I do love their videos. So here is another one. A bit of pride in John Deere.
There's a lot of people who look for their dream job their whole lives and never really find it. I was lucky to find it in my 20s. There's nothing else that I want to do. This project, I think, represents an important piece of infrastructure for the Clay Elm area. It's going to provide around 1,300 homes. There was no other path to a successful project than the support that we got from Pape. We needed established crews from day one. And so I called on my allies. We have Active Construction out here, who is a huge company. Another partner is Sascon. Through Operations Center, which is one of the great features of our John Deere equipment, we're able to see exactly how well our equipment's being utilized. We can see if any error codes are being thrown. Pull up and see their screen in our office in real time. It's been just invaluable to what we're doing out here. On a project of this size, we have so many earthwork crews going at a time. We could not staff it with enough grade engineers to pound hubs and check grade in front of operators using old or no technology. With Smart Grade, one operator that has embraced and understands the technology can check his own grade. He knows he's on grade, he knows what his cut is, or he knows what his fill is 100% of the time, every day. A lot of the people in this industry are the same way. They're kids that just grew up in it and found a way to do it as grown-ups. And they take pride in it. You know, we build the roads that people commute on. We build the houses that people are going to bring their first kid home. We build the foundations for hospitals and schools and bridges. Like, we are literally the cornerstone of infrastructure in America. And it sounds cliche, but I say it all the time. I love my part in building America's infrastructure.
Yeah, John Deere, not available here. Or are they? I had this from Dan. There might be one of them coming here soon, along with a 777 Rigid. Keep me posted on that. Excuse me. One of the parts of the new show, the report, one of the bits that I'm planning to record after this show is talking about John Deere, actually, and their vision for the future of finance. I know that sounds awfully boring and dull and dry, but they are talking about instigating a model, and this is obviously they're talking primarily about the agricultural side of things, but they're looking at a pay by usage model. In other words, rather than paying a set rate per week, per month for your cost of ownership, you will pay by usage. In other words, if the machine sits idle, you're not paying a lot. If it's working flat out, you're paying more. Look out for that when it comes out. The problem with Americans, they're just not patriotic enough. Sometimes they're a little too patriotic, and they want to take their patriotism to other parts of the world. Notice that? Yeah. What have we got? Dan says 4 trucks and 6 machines. Komatsu coming here by the end of April. So I'm told a 200-tonner, 400-tonner, and a 60-tonner. I'm told, but we will see. We will indeed. Yes, that's all of that. Let's have a bit of this, because we're going scraper in a moment.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
A very quick good morning to Burdette Metals over on Instagram. Thank you for joining us. If you were here last week, you may recall that I did about a 15-minute walk around of the festival grounds, one of the outdoor areas of the Con Expo show. And one of the stands that we visited somewhat briefly was that of K-Tec, the scraper manufacturer. I said we were going to call back, and by golly, we're going to. This is not just K-Tec, but this is their latest scraper.
Hi everyone, it's Sean Ides from the KA Group. We're here at Con Expo and we were really excited to announce our brand new 1232 ADT scraper, which is going to be available for 2027. Let's take a look at what we're bringing to market. So our 1232 scraper is a 12-foot wide cut, 32 cubic yard capacity unit that can be run in singles or in tandem so that you can get up to 64 yards of heaped capacity. Here at Con Expo, we were able to show off the 1232 connected to a brand new Volvo A40J, which features our updated hitch and updated fender system. We've got new hitch designs for all the new Volvo J series trucks and really excited to get scrapers behind those. So our 1232 scraper is the big brother to our 1228 ADT, but we've redesigned it from the ground up with a focus on a modular design and adding some new features, improving the wear areas which were a frustration on the 1228, and increasing that capacity for you. So a few of the improvements on the 1232 from the 1228, we've increased our pin and bushing size for extended wear. We've replaced our ejector roller with a slide block that's shimmable so you can get longer life out of it, and when you need to replace it, it's cheaper and easier. We've gone to an updated axle system that allows you to set the tires inline or offset, and we've moved the grease points of the axle so you no longer have to crawl under and find them on the hub, so you can easily access them from anywhere around the scraper. As we mentioned, the 1232 is available in a train configuration, which was not something we could do with the 1228. You can see our rear hitch design is something that we can bolt on and add and uses the same hitching point for the rear scraper. So if you need to split them up into singles or run them in tandem, you have that flexibility. So like all K-Tec scrapers, we focus on making sure we had lots of clearance under the blade for when you're hauling, as well as a big gate opening for when you're unloading so you can get that material out easily. We've kept the same blades that we use on our 1237, so you don't have to stock separate blades if you have a mixed fleet. And now on the 1232, we have a greater blade option just like we had on the 1237s, something you can add on if you want to help funnel that material into your cutting edge, or if you just want to keep your job site cleaner and minimize the windrows. So the updated tail design on the back of the 1232 follows a lot of the same fundamentals we've done in the past by keeping things open so that it doesn't build up dirt inside. But now you have a bolt-on push block option, so you can either have a rigid or roller push block. On top of that, the updated tail and sidewall allows us to offer 2 different tire sizes, the 23.5s, which are standard, or you can upgrade to 26.5 tires now on this model. So the new 1232 pairs really nice with 30 to 45 ton articulating trucks. The great part with articulating trucks is you keep your haul road speeds up and your cycle times down for those heavy duty construction environments. So that covers the 1232 scraper, a great option for those mid-size articulating trucks and something we're really excited to add to our fleet for 2027. If you want more information, reach out to your local K-Tec dealer or visit us at ktec.com.
address this one very quickly. Dan says, did you not show this video last week? There is another one, not dissimilar, different model, but shot at the same place, same guy, different video. Going back to this, Jim Turner says, pay for usage will be great for contractors. I agree. I also think, having molded over for a little bit, I wonder if this might be at least part of the solution to all things environmental and fuel consumption reduction as well. Very quickly, this notion of pay for usage would have been very difficult. I mean, you could monitor hours back in the day, you know, have an hours used report, but that doesn't really tell you a lot. I think in the age of telematics, which is where we are now, where you can really monitor exactly what a machine is doing, you know, is it working? Is it idling? Is it being abused or whatever? I do think the ability to monitor it is toppermost. Going back to Jim's point and going back to my point about sustainability and fuel consumption, imagine the shift in mentality on site where you are paying basically for usage. In other words, if that engine is running, it is costing you money. We already know that there are machines, site dumpers being a prime example, that can be idling for 40, 50, 60% of the time. They're just sat there chugging away, burning diesel, not actually doing a day's work. They're just sat there ticking over. Imagine the change in attitude if you think, you know, if you've got somebody on site that says, actually, switch that bloody thing off because that's being monitored. And all the time that's running, we are not just paying for the fuel that we're burning, we're actually paying for that for usages of the machine as well. I think that could be a step in the right direction to, you know, real change in fuel consumption. Anybody's got any thoughts on that, please let me know. When I do this evening's report show, there will be a link in the chat, a link in the description, so you can go and read the full article to hear what the new president of John Deere is saying about his plans for this. As I say, he's talking about plans specifically for the agricultural industry, but John Deere has a foot in both camps, and you'd have to think if they can make it work in farming, only a matter of time before they could apply it over in our part of the world. So keep an eye out for that. We've got one more video to show you, which is Verona related. I'll be back after this. Now, it may be just that Dan has got me worried. I'm about to play you a video talking about what Kobelco are going to be showing at SaMoTeR this time next month, basically. And now he's just said, have I played that Kobelco, or not the Kobelco, the K-Tec video before? I'm wondering if I played this one before. I don't believe I have. It's currently unlisted on our YouTube channel, which normally means that I haven't played it yet. If you've seen this before, please interrupt it and let me know, and I'll stop it, and we'll move on to the morning monologue. But this is Kobelco at SaMoTeR.
We'll be showing an array of our existing portfolio. We also have a new one, which is the SK165 SRLC. It is a machine that is particularly suited to be working in very dense forestry type areas. What makes that machine unique is that it's got a raised undercarriage, it's got a strengthened upper body. In operation, it's very quiet because it's thanks to the INER technology, which is unique to Kobelco. It produces less noise, which significantly contributes to operator comfort. What is also very nice about this particular product is that you can equip it with different types of attachments. So you basically can do a variety of jobs with one single machine, which clearly benefits the utility of that particular product. As Kobelco is a specialist, we don't have a huge portfolio of products. We specialize in manufacturing crawler excavators, crawler cranes. So we will lay particular focus on those projects that we excel at. Where we are unique is that these products come straight from Japan. So there's no local modification. If you buy a Demolition.
Well, it turns out I had played that before, and for that I can only apologise. Easter, I'd forgotten. Jim Turner says, I remember the blonde. You had me worried anyway. Jim also says this. Well, let's go back to this. I think there'll be a minimum definition of usage. I'd reckon no less than 1 hour. So might not affect idling issues. Maybe. It's not going to be the sort of thing that will be introduced overnight. Funnily enough, and I'm not saying I invented this because there are far smarter people in this industry, but I do remember getting a guided tour of the JCB LiveLink system and actually saying to one of the guys there, given that you've basically got your finger on the pulse of each and every machine, and what it's doing, how it's being used, where it's being used, and everything else, is there not a possibility to have a pay-to-play model for plant hirers? And the guy sort of chuckled to himself and he went, yeah, we're already talking to a few of the plant hirers about that. Be interesting to see if it turns out to be that the manufacturers are the first to go down that route. Watch this space. So apologies for the abortive Kobelco one. I'm sure they'll be delighted to have been featured not once but twice on the show. But that pretty much wraps up the main part of this morning's show. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like over into my morning monologue. If you can't stick around for that, please stay safe. Look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. I hope to see you again very soon. But if you do have the time and the inclination, I will be back. I will be back immediately after this. I'm fortunate enough to live in a town in which the crime rate is well below the national average. We have the occasional post-pub punch-up, and it's probably unwise to leave your bicycle unlocked and unattended, but in the main, we're mostly crime-free. So imagine my surprise when my local supermarket underwent a refit recently. As part of the refurbishment, they reshuffled the entire shop to showcase their fresh produce right near the entrance, and they pushed the dog food right to the rear of the store. But that wasn't the most striking change. Walking down the meat and cheese aisles, I was stunned to find that chunks of steak and blocks of regular cheddar cheese are now protected by security tags. Maybe I'd underestimated the level of theft in my local area. But one place I haven't underestimated theft is in the demolition and construction industry. It's everywhere. It's endemic. It's the invisible tax that every developer, contractor, subcontractor, and even individual worker pays. But the most damning part of this trillion-pound industry isn't just the staggering volume of stolen goods. It's the fact that we've collectively shrugged our shoulders and labelled it as an inevitable cost of doing business. In the demolition sector, the line between salvage and theft has been blurred into oblivion. It's an open secret that as soon as the high-reach excavators start biting into a structure, a secondary shadow economy springs to life. Copper piping, lead flashing, and high-grade steel have a nasty habit of migrating from the site pile to the back of a private transit van before the official skips are even half full. Most demolition firms operate on paper-thin margins, with their bids at least partly predicated on the value of the scrap they can recover and sell to authorised dealers to offset the cost of their work. Yet the workers on the ground, the very people meant to facilitate that recovery, are often the ones siphoning it off. To many, it's seen as a perk of the job. But when tons of non-ferrous metal vanish into the night, sold for cash to unscrupulous scrapyards with no questions asked, it's not a perk. It's a breach of contract that bleeds the employer dry. And if scrap is the traditional currency of site theft, fuel has become its most volatile asset. The abolition of the red diesel subsidy in April 2022 was sold as a green initiative, pushing the industry toward cleaner energy. Instead, it turned every plant fuel tank into a target. With the price gap between red and white diesel effectively closed for construction purposes, the incentive for fuel theft skyrocketed. We're now seeing sophisticated gangs draining hundreds of litres from excavators and generators overnight. And there's a double cost. First, there's the cost of the fuel itself, and then there's the resulting downtime. A site that can't start its machinery because the tanks are dry is a site that is losing thousands of pounds per hour in lost productivity. And yet, once again, the industry's response has been a weary sigh and an increase in insurance premiums. There's a particular kind of bitterness reserved for the theft of tools. That's not just a corporate loss, it's often a personal one. When a subcontractor arrives to the lockup to find their Hilti drills and their Leica levels have gone, they're not just losing equipment, they're losing their ability to earn a living. And the statistics are striking. Equipment theft costs the UK construction industry roughly £1 billion every single year. However, the most uncomfortable truth is that the culprit isn't always a masked intruder climbing through the holding at midnight. Often, it's a fellow worker. Subcontractors steal from fellow subcontractors. Tradesmen borrow tools from the main contractor, and then they're never returned. We've created a culture of cannibalism where the lack of security and the high turnover of staff have eroded any sense of professional camaraderie. The tool chest is no longer a sanctuary, it's a target. And the industry's response? We buy trackers. We spray paint our gear in neon colours, and we factor the inevitable 15% loss of inventory into our next tender. Now, while the theft of a bag of copper or a van full of power tools is easy to visualise, the most predatory form of larceny in the industry actually happens in the boardroom. Now, that's the theft of liquidity, practiced by the large Tier 1 contractors against the smaller firms that actually do the industry's heavy lifting. The mechanism is simple and brutal: withholding payment. Through spurious disputes over quality and sheer administrative foot dragging, large contractors sit on the cash flow of their supply chain. For a massive multinational, a 6-month delay in payment is a rounding error. For a small family-run bricklaying or demolition firm, it's a death sentence. It's theft by another name. It's the deliberate misappropriation of someone else's working capital to bolster one's own balance sheet. All too often, the larger firms wait until the smaller contractor succumbs to bankruptcy, at which point the debt is effectively erased. It's a cold, calculated stripping of assets that makes a scrap metal thief look like a rank amateur. The true tragedy of this £1 billion drain on our economy is not the ingenuity of the thieves, but the apathy of the victims. Theft has actually been integrated into the British construction psyche. We no longer ask how we can stop it. We ask just how much we need to add to the budget to cover it. We've accepted a baseline of dishonesty that would be unthinkable in any other professional sector. Imagine a firm of solicitors where the junior partners regularly stole the laptops, or a hospital where the surgeons had to chain down their scalpels to stop the nurses selling them on eBay. It sounds absurd, but that is the daily reality of the UK demolition and construction site. The normalisation has a profound effect on the calibre of the industry. It creates a race to the bottom where the honest contractor who refuses to steal and insists on paying their staff fairly is outbid by the rogue operator who factors supplementary income from stolen scrap and unpaid invoices into their pricing. The UK construction and demolition industry is a leaky bucket, losing £1 billion a year through 1,000 different holes. We've become experts at patching the holes with insurance claims and inflated quotes, but we've seemingly stopped actually trying to fix the leak. Until we stop viewing the theft of a drill or the withholding of a payment as a quirk of the trade, we will remain a broken industry. It's high time we stop dismissing it as a cost of doing business. If you're taking what isn't yours, whether you're wearing a high-vis vest or a tailored suit, you're a thief. And until the industry treats this internal rot with the same seriousness it treats health and safety, the looting will continue until there's nothing left to steal. There you are. We'll go back on one element of that. A theft is a theft is a theft. If somebody, and it happens all the time, somebody walks onto a major contractor's site wearing high-vis, hard hat, they've got a low loader parked outside, and they load on an excavator that doesn't belong to them, and they drive off into the middle distance. Not condoning it, but you'd think that a major contractor has probably got that covered. They will have trackers on it and so on down the line. They're insured up to the hilt because it is such a common problem. Where I have the real issue is the local jobbing builder. You know, he's got his little transit van that he's still paying off, and some hairy ass bastard basically takes a crowbar to the back door or bends one of the side panels and steals his tools. So not only does he now have a vehicle that he can't use because it's no longer secure, but the very means, the very tools that he uses to earn his living have been stolen. I find that one really, really hard to take. The other one I find hard to take, I mentioned it at the top there, we're talking about scrap theft. I remember I was at a lunch once, and one of the guys was talking about the fact that they'd caught one of their employees stealing scrap. I think it was at a time when copper was very highly valued and highly priced, and somebody had been basically diverting. There was a skip on the site where the various types of metal were going in, but there was also, as it turns out, there was another stash behind the site office where somebody was just, that's a decent bit of copper, I'll bung that round the corner there. And when they actually did some digging, I mean, they let the guy go, but when they did some digging, it turned out that he was actually selling it to the same scrap company that he was selling it through the scrap company's back door, while they were selling proper scrap through a contract through the same scrap company, the same scrap yard's front door. You would think, would you not, that scrap companies, well, I'm saying they should be more scrupulous knowing the scrap business. I don't think anyone believes that to be the case, but that's the industry we work in, folks. What have we got in the chat? With paying for usage only, surely you gain no cost advantage from having a machine on site, but idle, says Mick. I think from a plant hirer's point of view, I mean, you don't want to, again, go back to my sustainability argument, you don't want to be taking delivery of a dumper, using it for 2 hours, and then sending it back down the road, and then 3 days later getting it back again. That makes no sense. But if you can park it up and literally sort of take the keys out, or switch it off entirely, then maybe it starts to make sense. What of the claim that left-wing councils are refusing to use JCB's Pothole Pro because its owner is a Tory peer? I haven't seen that. Wow. Having said that, hasn't Lord Bamford actually quit the House of Lords? I thought he had. Obviously, it's very public knowledge that he is a big Conservative Party supporter, probably a donor as well. So no question about the links, but I hadn't seen that. If you've got the details of that, Mick, I'd love to see it. I have to say, I'm a fan of the Pothole Pro. I really am. But how old is it now? 18 months, 2 years old? And it seems to have enjoyed most of its success not a million miles away from JCB's head office. I think one of the first councils to take delivery of one, and I don't know if they bought it or whether it was just on a demonstration or a trial, but one of the first was Stoke, which is literally, you can probably see it from Uttoxeter. I wonder, which is all a complete bloody nonsense. I felt inspired. Inspired is probably the wrong word, but I felt compelled. That's the word. A few years back, long before I started doing live streams, I'd seen a report online about it was JCB. JCB were being accused of war crimes because some of their equipment had turned up in, effectively Gaza, and some of that equipment was being used to demolish the houses of settlers that live there. And when I dug into the issue, it turns out that JCB were merely the latest target of these spurious claims, because Caterpillar get them all the time. So I actually recorded a video about the fact that, JCB has no control. They could sell a machine to a local contractor in New Toxeter, in their own backyard, and through used equipment websites and overseas exports, that machine could turn up in a war zone and they would never know anything about it. So it was a completely spurious argument. But I do wonder if there's any truth in that. I do wonder. And I wonder what the local populace, if there is even a shred of truth in that, the fact that some left-wing councils are refusing to stop the JCB Pothole Pro because of who its owner is. What are local people making of that? You elect your local councillors and your local politicians and stuff, and they are basically allowing you to damage your car on a daily basis with massive potholes because they refuse to do business with a guy that has got links to the Conservative Party. Is that really caring for your constituents? Is that really doing the job you were elected to do? If I can find any news on that, I may well add that to tonight's show, the new show, The Report, which, just in case you missed it earlier on, that will be breaking tonight, about 6 o'clock tonight, I'm hoping. That is the plan. I've got to record it yet because it needs to be reactive, which is what I was saying at the top of the show. It needs to be reactive. So if there's news, there'll be a show. If there's not news, there won't be a show. I have news. I have a show to be recorded. But if I can add a bit more to it, fantastic. And then we will leak that out over the period. There's no need for councils to be party affiliated. We vote MPs on to represent us in central government. Councils only look after things locally, so it shouldn't matter which party runs the country. No, it shouldn't. It absolutely shouldn't. Totally agree. But it does. It does, doesn't it? The more I look at the world of politics, I've said this before. There's a bit of me that I've probably filled my day now with the new show anyway. But there was a bit of me that really wanted to do a political news item, and the more I look at politics of the current age, the more I wish there was an opt-out scheme. Yeah, I'll continue paying my taxes and my national insurance, and and I'm more than happy to do that. But all your warmongering and your backbiting and your corruption, you can poke that where the sun don't shine. Next time I go into the polling booth, I'd like to find an opt-out option. Yes, I want no part of this. You're all corrupt. As an ex-councillor, says Andy Thornton, they declined the Pothole Pro after trials where the highways officers concluded they struggled on narrow residential roads and offered no advantage over existing methods. But I'm going to do a bit of digging because, even if that is a bit of rumour, a bit of gossip out there that some councils are turning down the Pothole Pro because of political affiliation or lack thereof. That's, as I say, even if they're not doing that, but there's a rumour out there, I think that's a story worth analysing, I would say. And so, Mick, if you've got any evidence of that, I'd love to see it. I'm going to do a bit of a dig after this anyway, but I'll go and take a look. Just to suffice to say, if you're watching, and I can see Andy Thornton is watching on YouTube, Mick Norton is on YouTube as well, and then we've got a couple of Jim Turners over on Facebook. The new show tonight, 6 o'clock, will drop on all of those places, so you don't have to go anywhere. And according to Mick, the article was in yesterday's Mail on Sunday, which immediately makes me wonder if there's any truth or validity to that story whatsoever. But I'll check it out. I will check it out I'll go and take a look. So yes, I've got to go and get this evening's show ready. So I'm going to love you and leave you for now. I'm going to be back tomorrow if you get more of the same. I won't play the same video again. Kobelco have already had 2 bites at the cherry. They're not going to get another one, but we will be back with more previews of SaMoTeR, more looks back at ConExpo, more of the latest machines and innovations that are out there. Until then, everybody have a fine and splendid day. Enjoy the sunshine. I'll see you tomorrow. All the best.